Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this seminar organized by Environmental Management and Policy Research Institute under the Environmental Information, Awareness and Capacity Building Program, sponsored by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change on the occasion of World Sparrow Day. Today, we gather to raise awareness about the plight of the sparrow, a bird that has been an integral part of our urban and rural ecosystem. World Sparrow Day is celebrated every year on March 20th to highlight the significance of the sparrow in our lives and to promote the conservation of these small but vital birds. On this occasion, I would like to welcome Dr. Jagmohan Sharma, sir, Director General MD. Welcome, sir. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed speakers, Sri Jain Prasad, sir, and Ms. Sudeshni. Welcome. I once again welcome all the participants to this event. I now request Dr. Jagmohan Sharma, Director General MD, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope all those who have joined online are able to hear us. Can one of you please confirm?
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and welcome to this seminar, which is organized at EMPRI's JP Nagar campus. We are happy to welcome you to Sparrow Day seminar. And on this day, we have distinguished speakers. One who is an expert, and he is a person working for 20 years, more than 20 years, as I understand, and much accomplished in field of birds. And the other is our own Ms. Sudeshna, who is also a bird enthusiast. Shri Jain Prasad is otherwise, as I read about him on the internet, is a wellness entrepreneur. He is in that profession. And alongside that, he says that since childhood, he has been watching birds in the backyard of his home. And then I would like to think that sparrow was the most common bird which was visiting all backyards or were living in the backyards. Sparrows were almost part of the family, and they were present everywhere, and we were not hating them as we might if a crow enters your home. I mean, it's nothing to say bad about crow, but somehow our minds, as we have been trained and we hear and we know the stories, sparrows, when they entered home, we were happy. We never scared them. We offered them food. We kept water for birds generally, but sparrow made use of that most. And then suddenly, during last 15 years, we forgot about them. And when we look back, we find sparrows are not there. They're almost gone. And we have our distinguished speaker today, Shri Jain Prasad, who's passionate about all these issues. He has been not only watching birds, enjoying as a person, but also trying to communicate to the society as to how enjoyable it is to watch birds, know about birds, and the importance of birds. And he has lately also, I'm saying lately because I'm not aware if earlier also he was doing documentation. So I read eBird is what he's involved in, where he's collecting a lot of data, securing it for anyone else in future to look at it and make use of such data. So a very accomplished person, and we certainly hope and we're expecting, we're excited that we'll have good stories today from him, which will be very interesting. Our second speaker is into bird photography. For last 4 years, she has been very actively doing it. And to her claim, she also has an award from at the national level, and we are very happy about it. I welcome Shri Prasad, and I welcome her. And they will enlighten us and share with us their interesting thoughts and stories that they have about birds in general and sparrow particularly. So I welcome all the participants to this seminar in this hall and all those who have joined us online, the civil society members, and I would like to congratulate them to find time for attending this webinar, this seminar, because it is so important. If birds are restored, if birds are around us, a number of problems, including our health, is likely to be better watching them and getting benefit of the ecological sanitization that birds carry out. So welcome everyone once again, and we look forward to listen to our speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you for addressing the gathering and sharing your knowledge and insights with us, sir. Thank you. So I'd like to give a quick introduction of our first speaker, Ms. Sudeshna. Ms. Sudeshna is a passionate bird watcher and bird photographer and an active member of the Manipal Birders Club. Sudeshna's love for birds inspired her to take up a project on bird diversity as a part of her final year project, and her dedication and hard work were recognized when she secured a conservation prize in a bird photography competition conducted by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, Government of India, on the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Ms. Sudeshna is working as project associate at M3, and we are honored to have her as our guest speaker today. Please join me in welcoming Sudeshna. Over to you, Sudeshna.
Good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to sing a song, famous Kannada song. Rekki teri saaki, kige beku manu, mayadalli teenuta taanu, mere. So, ಈ ಸಾಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹಕ್ಕಿಗೆ ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಾ? No, that means environment, everything. So ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಾಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. They also need our support. ಅವುಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಹಾಗೆ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೇಕು ಬದುಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ಆ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಆರ್ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಸರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ನಾನೀಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. Okay, this is the classification of the sparrow. Usually scientifically ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಈ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೇನೆ. So basically around the world there are 24 species of sparrow. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ only 5 species are found in India. So ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ usually in Karnataka we could only see the house sparrows. All these Sind sparrow, Spanish sparrow, russet sparrow and tree sparrows, those are all seen in northern parts of India. And like other parts ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಕಾಣಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. Only house sparrows we can see here. Okay, World Sparrow Day ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ. Why we are celebrating? ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ 2010 ನಲ್ಲಿ this Nature Forever Society, they were doing the informal function, like they were doing a meeting. Usually the staff were talking. At that time they were observed that sparrows are declining nowadays. So they have decided we should do a cause for this. Like ನಾವು ಈ ಮಾರ್ಚ್ 2030ಗೆ ವರ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋ ಡೇ ಆಗಿ ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಮಂಗ್ ದ ಪೀಪಲ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋ ಡೇ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಖಾಲಿ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋ ಅನ್ನು ಕನ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಅದರ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ರೆಸ್ಕ್ಯೂಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದೇ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಟೇಕನ್ ಕೇರ್. ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೇಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ that we should take care of the sparrows or other birds. So this was done by Muhammad Dilawar. So he is the founder of this World Sparrow Day, and is done in 2010 along with the collaboration with the Ecosystem Action Foundation. So here is the sparrow. This is the male one, which is more colorful, and that one is the male sparrow. Usually, now animal diversity, we could see the males are so bright and they are so attractive. In case of female, they are so dull. Why it is? In the sense, male is a competition. During the mating time, they should compete with the coloration. So, in the outdoor diversity, if they are more bright or more colored, they are very healthy. So the healthier one, the female will choose. So that's why, if in case of sparrow, that we can see a dark patch near the neck. So if it is more dark, the female will choose the more darker one male. About the nesting. ಯೂಶುವಲಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹೆಕ್ಕುದನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಯೂಶುವಲಿ ಆಲ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೂ ದಟ್. ಸೊ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋ ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಒಣಗಿದ ಕಡ್ಡಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಎಲೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ತಕೊಂಡು ಗೂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಗೂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ? ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್ ಅನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಗಿಡ ಮರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಬಟ್ ನವಡೇಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫೌಂಡಿಂಗ್. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಟೆರೆಸ್ ಮನೆ ಕಟ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಸೊ ಹೌ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಅ ನೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ದಟ್? ಸೊ ಮೊದ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹಂಚಿನ ಮನೆ ಇತ್ತು, ಇಂಥ ಮನೆಗಳು ದೇ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಈಸಿಲಿ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ನಾವು ವಿ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಸಿ ದ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್ ನಿಯರ್ ಅವರ್ ಹೋಮ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ ರೀಸನ್. The one more, this is the health indicator of the urban ecosystem. So ಈ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಲೈಕ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟೋಟಲಿ ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ಟೋಟಲಿ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ಸ್. ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ದ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದೀಸ್ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಫೀಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಗ್ರೈನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನಾವೇನ್ ತಿಂತೇವೆ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಅವು ತಿನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ನಾವು ನೇಚರಿಗೆ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಇನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪೋಸಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್. ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಅಂಡ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫುಡ್. ಅವುಗಳು ಆಹಾರವನ್ನು ತಕೊಂಡ್ ಬರ್ತವೆ. They will take it for the other places also. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ dispersal ಆಗ್ತದೆ. That will help us also. So that is the one thing which is the use of the sparrow. And also the other birds also will do that. But ಈ sparrows ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ usually in birds we can say ಅವುಗಳ food habit ಮೇಲೆ ಅವುಗಳ beak ಉಂಟಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಅವುಗಳ food habit ಅನ್ನು ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. So in case of sparrow, we can see the thick bill. ಈ beak ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಈ beak is very thick because ಆ seeds ಅನ್ನು ಅವುಗಳು break ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So that's why the beak is so thick. In case of sunbirds, they are nectar feeding. So that is so narrow and too sharp. So they have to take the nectar from the flower. So ಹಾಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ bird species ಅವುಗಳ ಫೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಮೇಲೆ beak ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. So ಈ sparrows, how they will get affected? Of course by us only. Under urbanization and pollution and increased use of the pesticides in agriculture, and also in ಈಗ ಎಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ 5G. we all know like 5G so fast ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು. ಸೊ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅದು ಆ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೂಡ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ that will produce the more radiation. ಸೊ ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಬರ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು. So how we can save them? Reduce the use of pesticides. Agricultural land only we can alternate, like we can use the organic farming method, like that we can use. And 5G phone ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು 4G ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ದು ಬೇರೆ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಲೈಕ್ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಯೂಸ್ ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಯಾವತ್ತು ಕೂಡ ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ತೊಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಲೈಕ್ ವೈಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನಮ್ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೇಲಿ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ನಮ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದಾ, ದೆನ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಥಿಂಕ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗೆ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ಲೈಕ್ ಹೇಗೆ ನಮ್ಮಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅವುಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟ್ ಆದ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ತೆಗೆದು ಸರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೂ ಈಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಫೀಡ್ ದೆಮ್, ಆರ್ ನಾವೊಂದು ಬರ್ಡ್ ಬಾತ್ ಇಡುವಂತದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಹತ್ತಿರ ನೀರಿಡುವಂತದ್ದು ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಗೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ ಸಮ್ಮರ್ ಸೀಸನ್ ದೇ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಈ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಫುಡ್, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ದೇ ನೀಡ್. ಸೊ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೂ that ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಲೈಕ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. IUCN ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಮೋರ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್, ದ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್, ಬಟ್ ವೈ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್? ವೆನ್ ನಾವು ಮೊದಲು ಒಂದು 2 decades ಮೊದಲು ನೋಡುವಂತ ಟೈಮಿಗೂ ಈ ಟೈಮಿಗೂ ದ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಸೋ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಸಮ್ ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಗೋ ಟು ವಲ್ನರೇಬಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. So IUCN list it will come like least concern, then vulnerable, then threatened, then endangered, critically endangered, and then extinct. Definitely in some year it will go extinct if we don't think about this. And BNHS ಅವರು launch ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ in 2012, that is project Citizen Sparrow ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ. ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, there are some volunteer scientists, ಬರ್ಡ್ ವಾಚರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಅಂತವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಕೌಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಹೌ ಮೆನಿ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್. ಸೊ ಇದರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ 80% ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಕ್ಲೈನ್ಡ್ in 2 decades and 50% in rural areas. So we could see why it is in more number in urban areas, because the effect is more like urbanization, pollution ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು ಅರ್ಬನೈಸ್ಡ್ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ. ರೂರಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾಕೆ? ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಕಟ್ತಾರೆ ಆರ್ ಏನ್ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಈಗ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಪೆಸ್ಟಿಸೈಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಜನರು ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಪೆಸ್ಟಿಸೈಡ್ ಇದು. ಸೊ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದೆಮ್. ಅಂಡ್ ನಾವು ರೀಸೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಲೈಕ್ 2012 ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾವ್ದನ್ನು ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾರೋ ಅನ್ನು. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಸೊ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್. If it is not a state bird also, we should think about serving the each bird. We should take care of each bird or animal. And also the government of India has launched like Save Our Sparrows ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ campaign ಕೂಡ start ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. So along with the sparrows, we should save the other birds also, animals also. So at the end of the day, I will say that save the birds, save the nature, and save the animals. Like ನಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೋ ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, not only about humans and also with about the animals and birds we have to think. ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ವಿ ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಆಕ್ಷನ್ or ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತೇವೆ, that will depend upon the each and every animal. So please think before whatever you taking the decision. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಈ ಸೆಷನ್ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಸೊ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಎವ್ರಿವನ್. ಸೇವ್ ದ ಬರ್ಡ್, ಸೇವ್ ನೇಚರ್.
Thank you, Sudeshna, for your informative and thought-provoking talk on life with sparrows. Your insights into the behavior, habitat, morphology, and challenges faced by these birds were truly eye-opening. Thank you again. Before we continue, I request all the participants online to keep themselves on mute and not interrupt on the talk. Thank you. I'm delighted to introduce our next guest speaker, Shri Jain Prasad sir, for today's seminar. Shri Prasad sir is a naturalist and an avid bird watcher with over decades of experience in the field. He has conducted several ecological and behavioral studies, and his work has been published in various scientific journals. Associated closely with the Worldwide Fund for Nature, India Nature Club's movement, since its inception, He went on to co-found Medlin Nature Club, which became the cradle of learning for many Bangalore's enthusiastic naturalists. For all this and more, he has been recognized and awarded by the Rotary Club for his outstanding service and contribution to the community. On this World Sparrow Day, we are honored to have Sri Jain Prasad sir as a guest speaker. He'll be addressing the participants on the topic, Bring Back Sparrows Home. And we look forward to learning from his vast knowledge and experience. Let us welcome Sri Prasad sir and celebrate this day dedicated to conservation of sparrows. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. And before we get started, I want to make some changes in the Zoom settings with your permission so that you don't have to remove Atharva, but he can stay on and can also, this is a co-host, I think, this device, right? They're going to disable the waiting room. Hope it's okay. And also going to not allow the participants to unmute until the session is over. And I'll give you the opportunity to ask me questions later on. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this incredible session organized by MPRI. Thank you so much. It's nice to be back in your campus, lovely campus here. I've been in this area for last 44 years, and I've seen the transformation of this whole area. And it is something which is going to be incredible opportunity to share some insights about the opportunity. And so let me get started with the thing. As Mr. Darshana beautifully introduced the world of sparrows, about their habits and about how about 25 species, and out of which 5 are in India. And we have this opportunity on the occasion of World Sparrow Day to remember about how birds as an indicator of what is happening around in our environment and nature, and how to get ahead. And it's something like our traffic signals, you know. While coming to this campus also, I encountered many traffic signals which showed the red light, and I had to wait until it turned green so that I could reach your campus safely. But then if I had ignored those traffic rules, what would you think would happen? It's a chaos, right? But there are no red traffic signals, unfortunately, in nature or in environment, warning us about what is happening. The presence or absence of sparrow is one such occasion. And today also happens to be the World's Frog Day as well. And MPRI has been working incredibly on the wetlands field as well. And last time I was here, I was a part of your Wetland Day celebrations too. And it was an opportunity to interact with many school teachers and students as well. And I have been interacting with a lot of school students and teachers as well. So this annotations often happens on Zoom. All you need to do is to disable the annotations for others. That's all you need to do. And the settings will up, you don't have to remove those students. So unfortunately, they did not know the feature. Okay, this is a bird which also coexisted along with sparrows, but fortunately, it's a much more clever bird. It's adapted and survived beyond what the sparrows have, because this is a bird has a little bit of a different kind of lifestyle, unlike the sparrows. This is a red-whiskered bulbul. I think many of you might have seen in your own campus and your campus. It's very much a common bird, and as the name itself says, it's got beautiful red whiskers on it, either side of its cheeks. And it's nice to wake up to its call, pleased to meet you, or take me with you, or tea for two, or sometimes 2022. It may be sounding like as if it's talking in English to you, but it's an opportunity that you have different birds, and you have these birds in your MPRI campus adjoining the Darsane Palya campus as well, the red-vented bulbul. Why am I showing a little bit of colorful birds here is basically to help you to wake up on an afternoon, because especially post-lunch session is something which is very, very difficult to talk to an audience. And although your coffee and tea might have kept you awake a little bit with of caffeine, but then not good enough, I suppose. But this, if you heard many of the birds like this barbets, they keep you awake, especially during the hot seasons in Bangalore. Gutrugumma, Kutrashetti, Kutru, Kutru, Kutru ಅಂತ ಸಹಜವಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಇದು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಕಂಡುಬರುವಂತ ಹಸಿರು ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಬಾರ್ಬೆಟ್. The small green barbet was the previous name. It's called as a white-cheeked barbet. It's one of those birds which are primary nest hole makers, along with woodpeckers. What I mean to say is this is a bird which excavate its own nest holes every season, and that's how it is able to build a nest. And coming to that little later on, and Mr. Reshna has already introduced beautifully about the introduction to the world of sparrows, but we are also familiar with many other birds like the house crow. On the occasion of the Sparrow Day, let me remind you, it's not just only the sparrows whose numbers are declining. Even this very familiar house sparrow is almost vanished in my JP Nagar first phase area. In 1 kilometer radius, which I live, I don't find house sparrows that. But I do come across 1 kilometer away where there are some restaurants who still serve street food, and they do find them there. And as you might have known, that not all birds nest typically in the same way like the house sparrows does. So many birds have a different kinds of nesting requirements in nature. And as many of the politicians used to talk about, the basic needs of a human being is roti, kapada, or a makan, right? The basic they need is a food, shelter, and a place to actually seek refuge at the night. But often we don't know what we are doing. We are doing a lot of introduction of various kinds of things, which is spoiling our own health as well as the health of the environment around us, including the indiscriminate use of pesticides and as well as the poisons, rodenticides, which kill the rats, which also has killed many of these crows without our own knowledge. And so we have a lot of people also have myths and misinformation, miscommunication, including by the religious leaders, unfortunately, has driving people crazy to go and feed birds and of the wrong kind. Can you imagine? I'll come to this later if the time permits about it. We should not be feeding wild birds. We are not in Europe or in America where it's cold environment, where it is snowing and you don't find much of food available. We are in a different tropical world. So birds can find their own thing. Just imagine if you're feeding mixtures, popcorn, and whatever bakery stuff which you love to these crows and other birds, what would happen? Who's going to eat the dead rat on the street? Think about it for a moment, right? So we should not be interfering too much about the thing. And it's something which is important for us to pay attention to this. The reason I got attracted to the Nest Box project is because of Dr. Joseph George, who's my mentor, who started off the group birdwatching outings in Bangalore when he moved from the New Forest in Dehradun into Bangalore. He was a wood chemist and the director of Indian Plywood Research Institute. He was very fond of these two little birds called the Oriental magpie robin. The left one is the male and the right one is the female. And basically, it's called as a bird of the 100 songs. That's how the Bengali name for this bird goes. Copsychus solaris is the solaris means based on the 100 songs. If anybody love music here, any musicians? Anybody compose music? That's a nice song, by the way. Started off very well. Thank you, Mr. Sudeshna. And it's a very nice song, very lovely voice too. And if you have the habit of listening to music and would like to compose music, it's probably you need to pay attention. This is the right season, by the way, to listen to the male magpie robin, which goes on top of the buildings and sing. And in fact, I was looking around when I landed here for this bird, because last time I remember it was singing on top of your campus. It's right on this, your main admin block as well. And it may be still around. I think definitely in your neighboring campus, it's found. Let me come back to this. But there are many of these birds. Remember this term, if those of you who are interested in birds and bird watching, these are secondary. I think if one of the co-hosts can disable the annotations for others, that will help them. Okay. And so disable the annotation for others. Thank you so much. All right. And so this is secondary hole nesters, meaning they don't make their nest of their own. They are dependent on the woodpeckers or on the barbets or naturally available cavities to nest. What does that mean? What is happening to us, our nature, is a lot of challenge, is that we have been too much greedy to occupy every part of the earth and not caring for about other fellow denizens of our unique planet. Especially in the world of birds, not all birds require the same kind of habitat, nor the same kind of nesting environment which it needs. And many of them, I think many of you would have loved to watch the lovely movie called Happy Feet. Any of you seen that? Or most of you would have seen several times, I guess. Okay, you've seen the penguins, how they actually just scrape up a few stones and how the male actually incubates the egg by keeping it on the feet. So, so that's how this, I think it's the several nesting. One is floating nestings on or on the mound like the flamingos, or the burrows on the earth, cut earth like the kingfishers, and there are megapods which build on the nest in the decaying leaves and they make it a mound, or just the lapwings which lay eggs on the ground, or some of those birds which nest in the tree cavities we talked about, or some of them have a pendant nest like the weaver birds, or the crow pheasant, or the cowcul, which build its own nest, although it's a cuckoo. Unlike the other cuckoo, you saw a previous picture of a house crow being actually brood parasitized by the quail. And we have various kinds of things. Whereas tailor birds known for its stitching its beautiful nest. I'm not going to be covering everything because I don't have much time today to talk about the different aspects, but I want to quickly take you through. Not every kind of bird occupies the same kind of nest, including house sparrows. They also do. You might have seen or heard about the tailor bird, which is known to stitch its leaves, and it's called as darjihaki, and that's why it's known for stitching leaves, or the weaver bird, which is known to weave. And remember, this tailor bird is different, weaver bird is different. The name itself says the way they do build the nest, or the sunbirds. And in fact, there was a nest in your campus last time when I came, and it was active nest. And swallows, how they build the mud you have the robins. It's not so complicated to make nests for them. We have damaged their environment too much, but we can evenly provide just a couple of bricks which are lying around anyway. You can just put it around in a corner where it is not so much disturbed, not on the middle of the path which people are using or vehicles are traveling frequently. You just put it on a side and they occupy. That's good enough for them. They bring their own nesting materials and they lay eggs and then take care of that. And you have so much of challenges. As talked about the red-whiskered bulbul. The reason why this species is actually so successful is because the way it has been actually able to help. And actually, it is something which is important for us. And so it is something. Maybe one of your co-hosts is using the mouse or the laptop for some other work, and probably without accidentally touching the mouse. I think that's probably is causing the annotations on the screen. I don't know. Okay, so so this red-whiskered bulbul is actually having it's okay. Sorry, you can pay attention. Don't worry about that. I'm not bothered about this. And so the red-whiskered bulbul has found ways and means to survive by eating anything and everything which is available, fruits, berries, insects, invertebrates, and also occupy. If it doesn't have an opportunity, a bush to nest, it has found an umbrella which is hanging as a nest here. And you've seen this is how the typical nest of a bulbul occurs in nature. But the reason why am I talking about different birds, not about sparrows? How do I bring back sparrows? Is want you to give you a perspective into what is required to give it back to the nature that we have actually been on the wrong path. Okay. And as I talked about the woodpeckers, and they are capable of woodpeckers and barbets capable of burrowing this one. And maybe these are the cavities otherwise would occur in nature, not just because of their primary nest hole makers or on the okay. So let me 1 second stop and share screen again. Will that properly This. Okay, this would probably overcome that challenge. All right. Okay. Is that okay now? All right. Okay, so these are the nest holes excavated by woodpeckers or barbets, and you can see the holes here. And that is how something which is easily very, very interesting. Now, for those of you who have been into EMPRI projects, you have been already well aware of how the changing pattern. You've been watching a lot of changes in the land use pattern, and you're very well. This is the photo of the satellite imagery, which is used for the land use dynamics. Okay, thank you. So land use pattern change, and here you see all those red are the buildings, the open spaces and the cavities that used to be earlier. Has been so much of change. Can you imagine why there is so much of a decline for these sparrows? By the way, it's got nothing to do with the mobile towers, 4G, 5Gs, or the radiations or this, because sparrow numbers started declining even before mobile got introduced to India. Okay, so those of us who have been watching birds for a long time know the patterns of how the bird life and their numbers have been declining. And over a period of time, not just the common birds, but many of the woodland birds, the birds of the forested areas, the birds of the wetlands of Bangalore, also rapid decline. And so there has been a big changes too. So a lot of reasons why what is happening is a lot of people, another reason they say, apart from the mobile tower, the radiation, they say sparrows are declining because of the loss of greenery around the cities around the world. Well, it's not a decline right here in Bangalore, but around the world, the sparrow numbers are declining. And I'll come to the main reason why. And of course, yes, rapid urbanization means more population of vehicles too. As a result, we need more wider roads, much more easier things. Otherwise, we'll all end up into traffic jams. And we have a big challenge in spite of government trying to catch up by providing the infrastructure, the rapid transport systems. And the challenge what we have is so much of this as a result of that old and the trees with which used to be used by the barbets or woodpeckers, and we don't have much of woodpeckers in Bangalore. And we have this challenge, and actually we have an opportunity to actually look at these numbers. This is a barbet nest hole, which was the tree was felled by the Westcom. And you see the kind of hole it excavates. It needs softwood tree, a dry branch, and that's the preference it has. And it has to make a fresh nest every time. And there are birds are trying to adapt to the changing environment. Like this, can you guess what it is? It's a bus tire, not during the lockdown, but this is the typical scene of most of the birds. And you know what this is? And birds are trying to nest. And half a minute or 1 minute, we can't stand near that red. We cannot stand so patiently at the traffic signal waiting for it to turn green. Can you imagine the birds nesting in that baking heat? And by the way, you make use of the old shoes too. Don't have to throw them away. At least you can let the birds use it, and you can put it up in different styles that the birds are ready to occupy. But only thing is put them in a place where there is not much of direct sun or the direct rain falling on it, so that your shoe will last longer, so that the birds can reuse it again for the next season. And this is another nest of the red-whiskered bulbul. You see, this is on a door handle, which is actively used every day. The maid and the family members go to the terrace to put out the clothes for drying. And it's so desperate. Can you imagine? They are so much missing on the bushes which they used to nest. Are we doing what we need to be doing? Are we concerned about other species? Or are we so selfish that we are bothered only about us? So coming back to what we can do on to the sparrows is that there are so many ways you can do. One of the things most common is provide them the place to nest so that they can breed. Second is to help them to actually get some food and a shelter for them to roost. By the way, this is the eBird map of the sightings of Bangalore in Bangalore for the last 10 years. And sparrows haven't vanished altogether. You still find in older parts of the Bangalore where you have traditional houses with thatched roofs or the Mangalore tiles or the old buildings with cavities, you still find the sparrows. So those of you who are interested in bringing back the sparrows, it has to be worked locally in a place where sparrows are first found. So first homework we need to do is find out the nearest location where you have house sparrow population still around. This is the typical scene in a rural background or in the urban background also once upon a time where sparrows used to be abundantly available. And they used to have food, they used to have places to nest, as well as plenty of opportunity. And even in the rural areas, rapidly, the construction style has changed so much, thanks to the extra income or easily available loans or the modern architecture designs, which can last longer. So people have resorted to. Coming to the main reason why sparrows have declined rapidly worldwide is because of the indiscriminate usage of pesticides. I do not know if you have had this experience before. You might have noticed when you switched on the light outside your home or driving in the dark, you might have seen a lot of insects banging against or getting attracted to the light. And these days, if you do the same, you hardly come across. Earlier, many of us who would drive on a four-wheeler would have to wash the windscreen several times in a long-distance drive because so many insects would have been getting crushed onto the windscreen of a high-speed vehicle. But these days, you hardly have any. And sparrows are very intelligent birds, like most birds are. And although adult sparrows feed on grains, they are omnivorous. They do take in a lot of protein-rich insects and invertebrates whenever they get an opportunity. And their major preference to feed their young ones after they have this 2 weeks of incubation is to feed the rapidly growing chicks with protein-rich insects food. And insecticides are the main reasons why they are struggling to get food. In fact, this neighboring area of all this campus was a lot of agricultural fields. And I used to watch flocks of sparrows returning back from these paddy fields and the ragi fields back to those roosting areas where we used to live in the first phase, JP Nagar. There used to be a wireless monitoring station. We used to have a pair of red-necked falcons, red-headed merlins, as we used to call them earlier. And when we would watch them hunt house sparrows every evening. And we used to often collect the pellets regurgitated by these falcons and dissect and open out the curiosity, what was the ingredient or what was the species which they had ingested. And most of the 80–90% of their diet was house sparrows. And inside the pellet which was regurgitated by the falcon, we would find paddy or ragi. How come a falcon eating paddy or ragi? But actually it was ingested by the sparrow, which was still probably had it in its gut, which was undigested, and the falcon had eaten the bird. So that is how we used to have this. And it is really fascinating to see so much of things. And so many of them you might have noticed, I don't know, if you have senior citizens at home, you would ask them, avrekai season, ಬಟಾಣಿ ತೊಗರಿ ಕಾಳು ಕಡಲೆಕಾಳುಗಳು ಗಿಡಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತಿದೆ, ತುಂಬಾ ಹುಳುಗಳು ಬರ್ತಿವೆ, ಹಸಿರು ಹುಳ ಬರೋದು ಅಲ್ವಾ. So I don't know, these days probably you don't get the smell of that avrekai as well as the kind of worms in that, and you don't have the caterpillars. What I used to watch as in our childhood was my mothers and grandmothers and most of the ladies would gather together and start peeling the beans out of this pod, and they would find these worms either, and they would hold the worms in their hand. And as my mother was holding the caterpillar in hand, the caterpillar was trying to get out to safety. And the sparrows all around us would be chirping and waiting for the opportunity, would quickly hop onto our hand, come and grab the grub and feed on it and wipe its beak and fly away. So that is how, until waiting for the next worm to be popped out of the pot. That is how they were cleverly adapting with the human around us. And actually, thousands of years, house sparrow has been living with people. So that's the reason. They used to prefer this kind of cavities, which already It's been covered, and people used to be very, very conscious in their construction styles earlier. They would let out these openings for birds to come and nest. Changing in architectural designs has a lot of challenge. These days, you find a lot of things. And by the way, if you happen to go towards Yeshwanthpur, this is a picture from the Yeshwanthpur bus station, and you still find these bridges, and there are pipes which are meant for rainwater to do. And they're 2-3 inch or 2-inch pipe. They have these sparrows trying to nest. Can you imagine? They lay about 3 to 5 eggs and have about the equally a big size bird growing up in that, but they don't have room for that. So they reduce the clutch size. That means the number of eggs which is laid because there is not enough room. That's one of the reasons. Normally, the clutch size is dependent on the food availability. But these days, because of lack of space, but there are a lot of kind-hearted humans who are willing to put out something like these nest boxes, and old carton shoe boxes. I'm going to show you. I have a couple of them as a sample to show you. At the end of the session, you can probably duplicate and replicate wherever there are sparrows or other cavity nesting birds. You can do that. But there are certain do's and don'ts that you need to learn to do whenever you want to assist some of these birds which would occupy the nest boxes, like this one. Do not use a jute string like it's been used in this picture, and keep replacing the shoebox. Maybe depending on the condition, it may wear and tear or maybe have a problem. Use a cable or a steel wire, because this sparrow is intelligent bird, knows to make the best use of the available opportunity as an expert. But sometimes they are called as bird brains, right? They're dumb enough to realize or not to realize this jute string here is the one which is holding the box there. And they don't know. They said, hey, I got the nesting material, very easily accessible. So it pulls the string, cuts it and brings it inside the nest box without realizing the whole box will fall down. So this is something which a lot of people have been doing. But what is the do not do is do not cut open in the center of the box like this, as shown in this picture. Do it at the top right hand or left hand side corner, because it gives a much more depth inside the box. Okay. And make sure the box is tied, and I'll give you for certain things. And certainly do not use this kind of so-called commercially available. They're just only after your money. It is not at all used by any bird, nor certainly not used by sparrows. Okay, you can, if you can have the habit of getting some old plywoods, you can make nest boxes out of this kind of nest box. They last long, but these are plywood. You should not put it up on the trees. It has to be put under the shelf or on the ledges, wherein you have an opportunity to keep it indoors or under the chaja or outside, where there is no direct sun or rain affecting the shelf life of these nest boxes. Okay, and there are commercially available boxes like this, which is sold, but again does not last long, and probably you can get something made by yourself with it. And you get even the clay pots like this, 50, 100 rupees people sell also. But again, a lateral opening too low, the young ones fall out of the nest. That's the reason why we do not recommend you to make a lateral hole at the center of the nest box or at the lower portion of the nest box. Because the birds, especially the young ones, need to have a well-grown wing before they step out of the nest. Otherwise, they will not be able to survive. Okay, that's the reason. You can use old pots, you can use PVC boxes like this. You can enroll a lot of students, neighborhood communities, societies, welfare associations, anybody to around. And also, if you have a habit of developing a kitchen garden around you, like, grow your lemon, curry leaves, or some of these bushes or some flowering plants for your family members. The sparrows love to roost during the day or in the night at that time and those places. They need safety and shelter too. They love to have bath regularly. And I don't know about humans these days, they're so busy. And they do get to the thing, but a shallow and tray, just a 1 inch deep, the water will do. Don't fill with a bucket full of water. And they just need a shallow water. Sloping would be ideal if you can. And they love to have a mud bath too. And most often after a water bath. But I don't know if maybe humans have copied this habit. I don't know, by wearing that powder or whatever. I don't use. So I was talking about the crows and the feeding already, and talking about the magpie robin. they're the birds which readily take into nest boxes, but their boxes need to be of a certain design. Different species needs different entrance hole, different depth of the nest boxes. We have these designs available and freely shared with anybody who's interested to, if you would like to experiment yourself or hire a carpenter to get, or most of the people have waste scrap wood thrown. And often it's of no resale value, it just gets into the landfill. And many of the offices, schools, buildings, homes, a lot of them renovate homes regularly, they dump. And what we do is we buy these packaged, used and reused pine wood. They have a longer shelf life, unlike the plywood. And we have on the back panel and the top panel, we use what is called shuttering plywood. Again, it is used in the construction industries. And we have a team, thanks to Dr. George, who started off this nest box project from 1970s, mid 70s. He was a pioneer in nest boxes made it of bamboo sections, but then I would not recommend, because after having experimented bamboo a lot of time. So we've been putting out this nest boxes with the help of a lot of volunteers at different locations, different campuses, and a lot of team who have been very dedicated. I know we have been able to learn out of the experiences. At the same time, we teach other people how to hammer a nail without hitting their fingernail. Okay. And as Sudeshna already called about how the, citizen science project. I don't know if it's still active, but maybe IMPRI can start one. And we can also distribute involved kids, and the Barnolds are the ones which are actually very, very clever in using this nest boxes. And if IMPRI can give us permission, we have a nest box of Barnold ready, and that can be placed in your campus. Hopefully nobody works in the night shift, and because otherwise the young ones of Barnolds might keep you awake. But that might help you to finish your deadlines or meet your deadlines. Okay, the another bird which uses secondary nest holes are the cinerestids. I don't know if I have time. I think I'm already complete with my quota of time. And so let me show you what we do to finish up a few more things. But important way is to know where to place the nest boxes. At a height of 10 to 12, 15 feet is ideal. There are a lot of birds which can occupy. We have grey hornbills, we have parakeets, we have, by the way, this I wanted to tell you. One of the most familiar common rose-ringed parrot, a very common urban bird in Bangalore. This is a building in Hanuman Nagar, center of Bangalore, struggling to find a nesting place to nest. Can you see? It's trying to peep in through a rain water duct. Right? There's no room. There's not much of things. So we have been putting out nest boxes. We are doing a lot of awareness program with a lot of students. They are so thrilled to be taking part of that, because there are a lot of subjects on nature and environment in the school syllabus. But when you involve them in some activity and cover those topics during those aspects, they get to learn a lot. So you can just request people to bring their shoe boxes. You can show them how to put up nest boxes. And by the way, one thing which many of you might be involved in and probably would be doing it in the future too is Vanamahotsava of tree planting. This is the place which has a lot of trees planting. It takes 30, 40 years for a bird like woodpecker or a barbet to get a suitable dry branch of these young trees. But do we have the 30, 40 years for them to wait? That's a question. Sparrow's lifespan is about 3 years. There are, of course, ringed data available in India, about 8 years lifespan, 15 years in UK. But then there's so many places which you need to be aware of. And you can enroll even the carpenters too. They'll be glad to assist for a little extra income. So you just have to put it. And the best thing is to get a lot of local support. You have people involved and they'll be glad to. But most important thing is take all safety precautions when you're climbing up a ladder to put it up. And there are a lot of opportunities to attract many birds like mynas, sparrows, tits, or Indian robin, or jungle myna, or spotted owlets, copse owl, brahmini, and including the shama. That's all for the time I have. Sorry, I've exceeded. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to help. I'm going to mute and is anybody here? I would give preference to you before you go to sleep. Okay. And somebody says not audible. I'm sorry if I was not audible. And somebody else says, okay, so some more people have heard me. So is thanking. Sparrows have become extinct due to non-availability of worms in Avrekai, Bangalore beans, sparrows. Yes, thank you very much, Vishnu. And okay, I saw that request for English and Hindi. That's why I switched over to English to most of the topic. And sorry for those of you who did not understand that bit of Kannada. Very good. Sort of people saying that they have sparrows in their colony. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions as of now. I don't know if there are things. Oh, that's nice to know. Ms. Vani is new doctor, my mentor, Dr. Josh. Nice to know that. Thank you. He's an incredible person. All right. Thank you so much. And I just have a quick wanted to show. You can any carton boxes of any kind and use that mic, right? Okay, you can use any kind of carton boxes of most of you, I think, order stuff online, or you may have some shoe box. Many people can use the shoe box. I think hopefully it can be seen. This is a typical shoe box. Anybody can see there is a kind of, sorry, there's a bit soil. All you need to do is to, as I mentioned, open up on one of the corners, but not too close to the edge, maybe 0.5 centimeter or 1 centimeter inside, so that this portion doesn't become weak. And make sure you have a drain holes at the bottom in case of any eggs which may crack and leak or accidental water seepage. You may have the nest become sloggy. And if there is a drain holes available, that is something. And make sure you use a wire. Steel wire is the best one. You can to hang it up and make sure the nests are not dangling as the birds are coming and going. And make sure if it is placed securely away from the cat reach or the dog's reach, that would be the ideal. And for larger birds, you can go in for the wooden boxes for long lasting, or for minors, you can go in for sturdier box like this, bigger box. Just have to make it bigger, maybe the entrance hole about this. If you want, I can give you the dimensions for the entrance holes for different species of birds, and make sure that you have some drain holes, and again, tape it up, but no painting to be done inside or out. And very important, not to stick this cellophane tape inside. Okay, because the feathers might get stuck into those adhesive tapes. Okay, that's a precaution you need to take. And if you're sticking something, there is an art how to use a cellophane tape and the paper inside. So make it as a thing, or else a wooden nest box you can make easily. You can, as I was showing, this is just my portable one which I can carry around and show it to kids. This is what we can do. This is the design. That's it. Very simple. And we have no perching points. Make sure that no perching points to be provided, because it will give an opportunity for the predator to come perch and put their beak or talons inside, or even like monkeys can dangle and put the one hand and then dangle and pluck out the eggs or the chicks. Okay. Again, don't forget the drain holes, and make sure the nest box is placed securely. Okay. So that's it. I think some hands are raised. I think probably somebody can unmute and take one by one if they want to ask a question. I'm not sure. Anybody want to coordinate? Or do you want me to do that? Okay, I'll give you an unmute option to Mr. Ratnadar. Can you, if you have a question, you can unmute. I've given you the unmute option.
ಸರ್ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Namaskara, sir.
ನಾನು ರೋಟರಿ ಸಿದ್ರಬೆಟ್ಟದಿಂದ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರೋದು.
ಹೇಳಿ sir.
ಸಿದ್ರಬೆಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಇದಿದೆ, ಏನಪ್ಪಾ, ಗುಬ್ಬಿಗಳಿದೆ, ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಠ ಇದೆ, ಗುಬ್ಬಿ ಸಿದ್ದರ ಬೆಟ್ಟ ಅಂತ ಕೊರಟಗೆರೆ ಹತ್ರ ಬರುತ್ತೆ.
ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಸರ್, ಬಹಳ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರ. ಅದನ್ನ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಠಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋ ಭಕ್ತಾದಿಗಳು ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಗುಬ್ಬಚ್ಚಿಗಳು ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತದ್ದು. ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಭಕ್ತಾದಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಅದನ್ನ ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಇವಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೋಟರಿ ಕ್ಲಬ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗುಬ್ಬಿದು ಒಂದು ಕಾಲೋನಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಆಸೆ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾರು ದಾರಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಂದು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸಂಭಾಷಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಬಹುಶಃ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀರಾ. ಏನ್ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸುಮಾರು ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದು ಟ್ರಯಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎರರ್ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಸಮಯ ಉಳಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ದು ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಗಳಿದೆ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಳಿಸಿರೋ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ನನ್ನ ಸಂಪರ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ದು ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಪೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ, ಹಕ್ಕಿಗೂಡು ಅಂತಿದೆ, ನಮ್ದೊಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಗುಬ್ಬಿಗೂಡು ಅಂತಿದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಸೇರ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡಿಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ.
ಆಯ್ತು ಸರ್, ಸಂಪರ್ಕಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಆಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ನಾನು ಪ್ರಿಯಾಂಕಾರಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
Good afternoon, sir. This was a very incredible presentation. I really loved it. Am I audible?
Thank you. Thank you. If you can speak a little louder, it will help other people to listen to you.
Sure, sir. Am I audible? Like, am I clear?
Yes, now it's very good. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So I have a very small question. I saw the presentation and you had mentioned about the nests for sparrows, but I was just wondering, because we have heard the declining numbers of sparrows due to mobile towers. So we have, like, in the busy and also maybe pollution and other reasons could also be adding to it, and less number of trees, of course. But I was just wondering, we have all these things in and around the cities, and even if you put a nest, like, it's just a theoretical question, even if we put one more nest or like plenty of nests, would they be preferring to nest within the city? Even
yeah, I got your question. It's one of the most frequently asked question. No point in putting up a nest box where the bird is not found. One. Second is the decline in the numbers, as I mentioned, is not just for the mobile towers, because their numbers started declining even before the mobile got introduced to India and several other countries too.
Climate change issue.
Probably you got up late, I think. It's already covered. It was mainly due to pesticides and the lack of testing spaces and the food for their young ones. When they were growing up, they need a lot of insect food.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What I wanted to ask is, like, considering the situation, would they prefer to nest even in the cities? Like you said, like wherever they are found, you
yes, they
volunteer to
definitely inside Bangalore city and other cities too. Wherever if the sparrows are still around, if you provide them the space, an opportunity for them to nest, they do survive. We think that inside the city there aren't any crops, or we're not using any pesticides, and they can't find worms. It's not true. They do find worms and insects wherever they can, provided we are not spraying insecticides around.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Somebody mentioned you've not answered my chat. I'm searching for you. Thank you for everybody saying. I think you can avoid saying thank you so that I can come to the question. Okay, someone news question: how are sparrow populations surviving in rural areas? What are the adaptations they have made? I guess you probably have missed some points, or probably it was covered. They have been able to survive because of the availability of the food, shelter, and that's the basic two reasons why they have been able to survive. And they can thrive well, and you can bring back sparrows if you provide these. And we'll have to start doing it. And even for a distance of just 1 kilometer from the available known population of sparrows to your home, even if it's just 1 kilometer as the sparrow flies, it may take anywhere from 3 to 5 years, because en route, all the buildings need to be enrolled into your idea of welcoming back the sparrows on to your home. So that's the amount of work it would take. Have patience. It's possible. There are a lot of people have brought back sparrows into many of their things, but it has to work in the micro habitat area. What kind of foods are best? Millets, grains, ragi, paddy. These are the very commonly used grains that people can put up for birds, but avoid buying any ready-made feeders which are sold online. Most of it is not useful. And birds, unfortunately, like sparrows, do not know inside those feeders there are food available for them. Yes, in urban areas, we have a lot of cats and dogs and other things, and that's not a good sign. And cats are very, very notorious predators, and they are not good for the health as well. And they even spread certain parasites, so that if you have the habit of keeping cats, I know a lot of pet lovers are going to be taking their sticks to beat me up after this session. And if you have one cat, you soon will be end up having a half a dozen or a dozen cats. I think that's all the most of the questions we have covered. Thank you so much for an opportunity. How to attract sparrows in your home. Start attracting other birds. Whatever you have, first try to get to know your neighbors who are all present in your farm or your household. How can you help those existing birds? Then you work on towards the other aspects. Okay. Thank you so much. I think that's all the session time we have for today. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the wonderful and informative session, sir. Your words have shed light on the importance of protecting and conserving birds. Once again, thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise. The alarming rate at which sparrows are disappearing from surroundings must cause us to wake up. Together, we can make difference in conserving these birds. On this note, we have reached end of the session. I request Dr. Sarita to hand over memento to Prasad sir. I'd like to thank Dr. Jagmohan Sharma, sir, Director General MT, for his support in organizing this seminar. Thank you, sir. I'd like to express my gratitude to Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for their support. Thank you. I thank the speakers, Sri Jain Prasad sir and Ms. Sudeshna, for sharing their knowledge with us. Thank you. I thank all the participants who have joined us offline and online. Your presence and participation in this event reflect your commitment to the environmental conservation. Thank you all.